Welcome to British Business with him, Matt Holland, and me, Charlie Smith. Episode 66. Roll the tape, baby. How was that for you? Is that a good intro?
I think that was better than mine, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm not great with the intros.
Bit more energy and a bit more pizzazz.
I bring the knowledge and expertise. You can bring the flair.
And the novelty.
Yeah.
How are you, mate? Where are you? Look at that. I can see a big tree that doesn't look like it's native
It's actually
to the north.
It's a palm tree.
Oh, mate, look at that.
That's the
And
palm
can you just
tree.
tell everyone what you're filming on today, please? What camera are you using?
My technology's failed me because I normally I'm in my office, which has really good Wi-Fi, and it connects via. Basically, there's a wireless connection between the camera and my laptop, but
technical.
the internet isn't strong enough here, it's just not working. There's a bit too much latency, is what I would describe it as.
Can you? Oh, that sounds like a right technical term. That
we're not gonna bore people with that, but
no, fine.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm in Spain, Espanol.
Nice.
I don't speak any Spanish. Do you speak any Spanish?
No, I'm surprised you don't really, because you guys colonised that area a long, long time ago, didn't you? You Northerners.
Did we?
Well, you must have done. Benidorm, you did. You near there? You must have gone. Must have gone home. Must be somewhere near home.
Where do southern people go on holiday?
I don't know, mate. If you're anything like me, you don't go at the moment.
Cornwall.
Oh yeah, we like a trip down to Cornwall. Not really. I've always liked a trip to Spain. In all honesty.
Over to Essex.
Growing up, no,
Yeah.
no, not on a holiday. Only on a working trip.
Yeah, we always went to Wales actually. Mulfra, big up Mulfra.
Nice, that.
Yeah,
lovely.
Yeah,
for all our international listeners.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Talk to me then, baby. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today we're chatting about charge what you're worth, basically, because I think there's been a little bit of a secret topic woven into the last few episodes where we've been chatting a little bit about all these increasing costs, the erosion of margin, and we touched on it briefly in another episode where we kind of debated and discussed the concept of putting prices up.
Yeah, we did.
And I was kind of playing the case for why we should, or why businesses should, and you were making the case as to why they shouldn't, or like what the negatives are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, why it's difficult, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. Did you see? There's been a ceasefire with Iran.
Oh yeah,
today.
I saw that.
Yeah. Well, that's good for that's really good for business costs, because the fuel price has just gone straight down.
Basically, what happened last night was, obviously, with all the hoo-ha that was surrounding that and the potential end of civilization. Big word. Get it out, Chas. Come on, Jesus Christ.
Even Donald can say that word.
Yeah.
You can spell it right.
With the end of civilization, which was potentially imminent last night, I did have a little debate of whether or not I should even bother getting on the treadmill to do 5K last night.
Did you?
So yeah, I started lacing up my shoes, and I thought, do you know what? Is it even worth it? Like, what's the point in going out on a 5K? So, but I did do it anyway. But anyway, Wait
a minute. Hold on a sec. You actually went on the treadmill?
Yeah, I did it. I did it last night. That was all I could manage, but time-wise. But there we go. I got out there and I done it.
I did 5K just before this. That's why I was a little bit late.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Well, you were setting up your Starlink. That's what you were doing. But going back to the subject, I woke up for a wee in the middle of the night, and I thought, I woke up and I thought, civilization must not have ended last night. Civilization. I can't even say it. Civilization didn't end last night, and here I am. So here we are. But yes, correct. Obviously, that's going to have some positive impacts, hopefully, on settling things down a little bit.
Because the price of oil, the price of oil, literally as soon as they announced the ceasefire, it dropped massively.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, what's the name of your big company again?
That might be good for that Hills Waste. That might be really good for that pound surcharge, but I guarantee it won't drop that quickly. Also, I guarantee price at the pump won't drop that quickly either.
Yeah, I mean, it's dropped.
there'll be some profiteering off of this. It'd be like, oh, we got so much
So
uncertainty. There's so much
unfortunately,
uncertainty still that we can't afford to drop the price because the future prices might be a lot more than what they currently are. So we just don't know.
well, natural gas has dropped 5%.
Yeah, that's hang on the
Northern
summer.
crude, I don't know what that is. That's dropped 18%. Brent crude
Oh, it's Brent.
14.
It's Brent we're interested in, isn't it?
Is it
That's the
Brent
real.
crude? You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Yeah, everyone talks about Brent crude being the one that everyone talks about. That's the one they use for fuel, I think.
Right. You
You
see,
never know, mate. You might get a surcharge on your way home because the fuel prices might have gone up again.
yeah,
So
so
it
it's
might be
gone
like,
$112 down to $71. That's a big drop.
Christ, we're literally
That is.
economists. Oh fucking hell! What is going on with me today?
Economists,
We're
you
literally
fucking
economists, aren't we today?
fuckwit. Oh dear.
Anyway,
Well,
back on topic.
no, but the point is that I mean that's big positive news for business. It'll be interesting to see whether it holds out for this episode coming out in a Monday or two's time.
Yeah, what time do they wake
Um,
up in America?
um,
Got to be soon, hasn't it?
Let me have a look on my.
Get another tweet out, and then it'll be carnage again, won't it? But there we go.
Yeah, blessing. Yeah, I think basically the premise of the episode, when I saw the oil prices kind of drop off this morning, I was like, well, that's good news for business because everything that we import into the UK is shipped over in container ships, which is
Mm-hmm.
powered by diesel engines. So, and diesel was one of the ones that was like massively expensive. Now, the other thing is Chinese, where all these shipping container ships are coming from. So it's not just fuel; it's trade globally as well, and that
Mm-hmm.
was my kind of point. But a lot of the Chinese container ships, they're diesel engines, and a lot of I think it's 40% of China's oil comes from the Middle East through that strait.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just impacting Europe and the UK. That those price increases significantly increase the Chinese and everyone else in India and places like that. So, um, although China and Iran, they were kind of in cahoots a little bit. So I think the Chinese weren't getting impacted as badly, but global prices went up by that amount. Um, yeah, and I think small businesses like ours, we're in a situation where we're completely powerless.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, powerless to a certain extent. The only thing we have control over when it comes to our margin or our gross profit margin is so our gross profit margin can be dictated by the price that we're buying. So it's dictated by the price we're buying the things that we're selling in for, or the cost of goods sold effectively. Um, but our operating costs, our controllables, that's where we have real control, and that percentage or that amount that we have, and then your net profit at the bottom, that's dictated by what price you're setting out in the marketplace for the products you're selling. So yeah, I was just thinking about the topic of putting prices up. Do you do an annual price review where you tweak all your prices up for the? You must have
No, we're
products
shit
that
at it.
you must have products. You must be able to go, right, these are our top 10 selling products we sell. This is the product we sell the most of every year. And I know you probably sell a lot of SKUs because you
Mm-hmm.
you
We do.
don't want every customer. There will be some products that you sell a lot of. Those you just got to constantly nudge them up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is something that we kind of review and approach from a case by case basis. I reckon based on what the customer spend is, um, and also what they're trying to do themselves. So I think it's quite like it's very much on a one-to-one basis where
Yeah, yeah.
where we kind of review what they're doing in terms of their growth plans. Can we be along to support it? Is that, can we make concessions there, or can we stay consistent with the pricing? Do we need to kind of do it across the board? Because I think for small businesses like ours, is we find those kind of across the board rises quite difficult, particularly mentally. I think more than anything, where it's like, oh, we're still new, we're still trying to gain share, we're still trying to get new customers, and we're still trying to grow. You know, does doing something like that hamper it? And I think it's one of those constant battles that you have as a small business owner is where you fit in terms of the pricing structure in the marketplace. I find it really, really difficult, but also find it difficult because, like I say, we haven't been doing it for very long, and we're going for something that ultimately is not in an area which is not like ingrained through generations, if you know what I mean. So like being just in like a 4-year period when we first started, we were like, what is the value of what we do? How much should it cost to do to offer what we're offering? I don't know. And I think sometimes we still have that issue where we're still not sure what our service levels and what we're doing, what is the market value for those. And I think we do a lot of review of kind of like national sellers, which is easy to do kind of from looking at websites and whatnot, and where we fit with those. But ultimately, we got to come to conclusion that there's always going to be someone that tries to undercut. There's always going to be someone that tries to sell it for more. And I think we just got to try and make sure that we're fair to our customers with the service level that we're trying to offer. But it is a difficult one to do. I was going to ask you about yours because you're far more transactional, aren't you? You're far more regular. There's an awful
Yeah.
lot and you're moving more goods, and you're also working with a lot of brands. Do you review pricing across,
Yeah.
and
So
particularly people that do what you do as well?
yeah, so online retailers like me that are selling other people's brands, they don't have control of the marketplace. So I don't know, Fred's Country Clothing might have bought a particular product that we've bought as well. But they might have bought 200 units of it, say,
Hmm.
and that might be a big cash flow challenge for them. So what they might do is they might go, well, we can't hold on to this stock out of season, so we need to clear it. So they might drop the price that they're selling at online,
Mm.
and then we're sat with our 1,000 units of stock, going, "What are you doing, Greg?
Mm.
why have you dropped your price? Like, why are you being an idiot?" And then basically we're sat with that stock, and if we choose to price match, we're going to be operating a much lower gross profit margin on that product, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. So the model that we've adopted is we don't really heavily buy. We buy a lot of everything,
Mm.
a little bit of everything, and then products that have been stable for a long time that are well protected by the brands. In terms of they kind of manage the distribution better, if you like.
There's lots of
Um,
brands that don't, aren't there? Just to clarify on that
yeah,
part,
they'll
is that
sell.
actually there's a lot of price erosion across brands, but there's also a lot of brands that are there working hard to kind of try and protect it. And as a
Yeah,
third party reseller, you do actually feel more confident, don't you, with that? With certain brands as
yeah.
opposed to others.
And my view is it starts off just on the note of that. It starts off with the brands need to be careful how much they're selling into certain types of businesses or how established those businesses are. Because if they oversell, then you're going to have an issue where they're going to drop the price. So that plays a part of it. But to a certain extent, we have no control over what we sell for, which is a really interesting situation. Um, but what we do have control over is our operating costs.
Mm.
We do have control over our free delivery thresholds. We do have control over our advertising spend. So there's lots of levers that I can pull that have a similar impact
Mm.
to protect the net profit margin. So an example would be, and I wanted to ask you about this. So I'm aware my average order value is X. I'm not going to say on here, but for one of our stores is X, and then for another store it's Y. So we've actually got different free delivery thresholds across our different websites.
Mm.
Um, One of them, if we talk about say Holland's Workwear as an example, I can probably say that the average order value on that store is about 65 quid. So we've got the free delivery threshold at 75. So the reason for that is you want to try and drag the average order value up, which increases your overall operational efficiency. Um, and then the separate thing is you have control over, and this is where it links back to this episode's topic, price. So you have control over the price that you charge for shipping. And I think that's a big mistake that a lot of online retailers do. They try and offer free delivery too often,
Mm.
and or they offer it too cheaply. So
Yeah.
my view is if a customer's transacting below our average order value, well, they need to pay for shipping. And if they don't want to pay for shipping, they can go elsewhere because it's not a profitable business model for me. So we 100% lose customers because of our shipping pricing. So we charge 4.95 on our standard shipping on the websites. That's the cheapest shipping you can get when you're below the free delivery threshold. And if you don't like it, go and buy somewhere else.
Mm.
That's the way we play it. So how do you charge for shipping on your orders?
Yeah, we do. We increased ours. We first started and we were like, we offered £75 ex VAT. So
Yeah.
bearing in mind that I reckon our average order value varies month to month quite considerably.
Yeah, because of the types of products you're selling.
Yeah,
I see that.
on
Yeah.
average, it's like I think it's like 262 quid is the average order value. We don't do
Yeah.
masses and masses orders, so we're not transacting, as regularly as say like an online retailer. But it's quite healthy. But we first offered a free delivery charge for 75 orders at £75 ex VAT, which doesn't make any sense at all.
No, that I was going to say.
It
I'm
doesn't,
hoping you
and
change that.
it doesn't make any sense at all. We've increased it to 150 ex VAT, and I
Yeah.
still don't think that makes an awful lot of sense, to be honest with you. So it's
How
something that
Couple of
go on.
questions. How much do you charge for it? So if someone does actually pay, how much do they charge?
I think it's quite expensive. We charge 666 ex VAT, I think.
I think that's cheap.
I think it is cheap as well.
I think that's
But
cheap, mate.
lots of people have criticised. I'll give you an example. We took on our first school last year.
You see, that's a different business model
Yeah,
then.
exactly. So this is
Yeah.
what I was going to say. So I mean, the penny kind of dropped with me when we get we get free carriage on a few on from all our suppliers at a certain spend threshold in a B2B world, and that's increased a little bit, but not loads from like the major distributors. So I think that stands at like 175 ex VAT for the major distributors. But bearing in mind, like you're pretty much 90% of the 90% of the time you're spending over the threshold anyway, so you haven't got to worry about it. It's only every now and again where you have a quiet day and you want to there's something you need to get in because you need to finish off an order, blah blah blah. Then there's others that are like 300, 350 carriage paid, so the variation is quite substantial. But none of those B2B suppliers are ever worried about charging you any delivery, and yet we still continue to buy from them. So
Exactly.
we've never been put off of spending with these suppliers. So I don't. It kind of like, well, why would other people be put off about using that for us? And then from a supplies perspective, I've got someone that will. When we're buying some of our consumables, they'll charge delivery every single time, and it could be like a next day charge of like 9 quid plus VAT, and we pay it every single day, like clockwork. But ultimately, when you think about that and you think about the number of orders that they're providing, you can't afford to keep just giving that service away. And I think it's something that you need to start. Although running your own business, you might feel uncomfortable with. You need to get comfortable with being able to say, "Look, this is how much we charge," and that's why kind of I like what you've just said about your delivery charges, because like, well, you can't run like that. You can't just keep giving it
No,
away.
you can't pander to everyone. So,
No.
like, what I would say is you do actually have three different businesses within Workwear Innovation. So you've got the stationery business, you've got the school embroidery business, the school. What do you call it?
Just schoolwear.
School
Yeah, so
school uniform.
we operate a few web shops basically for
Yeah,
schools where parents can come on an order, kind of shorter lead times, better pricing than kind
yeah.
of national providers,
So
etc.
if I was you, I'd have three different pricing policies for shipping. Where, like, if it's the stationery stuff, if it's localized delivery, it's free over a certain price. Under
Hmm.
that, it's a charge that you probably got to be quite sharp on the price for that, I suspect.
Hmm.
School uniform, I'd price that competitively with other online retail school uniform providers. So it might be like 4.95 delivery, inclusive of VAT. Um, and then for your wholesale business, I think you should be offering, if your order's under the value of 300 quid, it's 7.95 inclusive
Mm.
of that.
Yeah.
Because one of the big things when I've gone through challenges in my business in the past where the price the consumer's willing to pay doesn't increase with the line that the costs have increased, so our gross profit margin has been compressed, I've had to find savings elsewhere, and there's something that I track in my management accounts on a monthly basis. It's called shipping gap, and it's the shipping revenue, less the shipping cost. So all the money we pay out to Royal Mail,
Yeah.
DPD, DHL, FedEx, whoever it is, versus the revenue that's generated just from the shipping revenue. And we track that on a monthly basis because that is the biggest thing. And a few years ago, I think it was like 2021, we were doing free returns, and we were doing free delivery over, I think it was like 75 quid. So what we did was we put our free delivery threshold up significantly. I think we doubled it to like 150 quid, and we put the price of our shipping up. and it saves us 150 grand in a single year.
Jesus Christ.
So
That's
it's
mental.
a significant amount of money. Crazy.
That is crazy. Well, I've just
Yeah.
lost you on the camera for now, but I'm just going to
It's
carry on.
yeah, it's recording on my end. We'll see what
Brilliant.
happens. So for
Fine. So
people,
I was gonna stare at a black screen for now.
yeah.
That's better.
Well,
A better view actually.
yeah, probably, yeah. Well,
But yeah, you can't keep giving stuff away, and I think that comes back to that comes back to the pricing what you're worth as well, doesn't it? Like, think about the service levels that you're offering. I mean, primarily, in a transactional business, a purely transactional business, is all about kind of service and dispatch, isn't it? And there isn't loads of layers, but for a business like ours, where there are layers into that, you think like the initial contact with a customer, the back and forth, the time it takes in order to find the range that's going to work for them or the products that are going to work from them. Then we're talking about kind of decoration, how we're decorating. We might sample something, we might get the logo made up, etc., etc. There's all those layers and all those service elements that actually kind of, I think, add a level to the price of what you're offering. And I think sometimes we've been, I definitely think we are too cheap at times. I really do for what we offer. Um,
yeah,
and I think that comes, you kind of get an impression for that when you start quoting things and people just keep saying yes, yes, yes. You kind of see that as being something that is, brilliant, fantastic. They really want to work with us. But it does leave me kind of questioning, was that right? Was that quite right? Was that too cheap? There's, have they been too quick to accept? And I guess the reality is you don't actually know. And that's one of the things that's really hard, is that you don't know. You've got no
well,
idea whether it's good or bad.
sometimes I think pricing too cheap costs you the job because I I've just had we're obviously opening this shop for Holland's Country Clothing, and we've had quotes for a HVAC system, so heating and cooling
Yeah.
aircon system. We had 3 quotes, two of which came in at just over 12 grand, or around 12 grand, and then another guy came in at 8.
Mm.
And we were like, well, there's no way we can give it to the guy for 8 now. So he might have been like really competitive and be a really good tradesperson, but he's coming too cheap
Yeah, it's
because
really difficult.
he's too far low for, but he has no context. He doesn't know what those other businesses have obviously, they're keeping their prices competitive in the sense that they're making sure they're paying themselves well enough. Whereas this guy, I felt sorry for him. I didn't say anything to him. Well, I haven't said anything to him yet. I'll probably let him know that, to be honest with you, your price was too cheap, mate.
Yeah, leaves
I
you
think,
left you questioning.
yeah. Well, it questions A, the quality, or B, um, well, I would say the quality predominantly.
Yeah.
Why is it 4 grand cheaper?
You often hear people say, "Oh, I would quite often go for the middle one. Go for the middle quote, don't they? Don't
I
go for
think
the
that,
highest, don't go for the lowest. They just settle in the middle." I think quite
yeah.
often people do that.
I always get references, so we went with the most expensive quote on this occasion because it was a referral from someone we knew. So we
Yeah.
were kind of like, that's probably the right move, but it wasn't. The most expensive and second expensive, most expensive were pretty close together. Should
Yeah.
we do British business facts of the week?
Yeah, 23 minutes in.
23 minutes in, which is like that's on top form for us.
Hey, but this topic's obviously struck a nerve with us, hasn't it?
So British business facts of the week obviously relate to pricing, matey.
Talk to me.
So the fact is, when Marks and Spencer raised prices on selected food lines in 2023, expecting a customer backlash, their food sales actually grew. Customers didn't leave, they stayed because they trusted the brand and believed the quality justified the cost. So why does that matter? One of the UK's most recognised retailers proved that customers don't automatically bolt when prices go up. The fear of losing customers is often worse than the reality. And I would say, I would just add on that I think when you put your prices up, typically the customers you lose are probably the customers you don't want to retain.
I think that's true. There's loads of examples about that, isn't there? I
Yeah.
think who's done similar thing. Well, I always,
Well, look at your Bing company, for example. Like, have you?
you in this surcharge. Look, I made a point. I thought they moved early.
They did actually.
In retrospect, having spoken about what we've spoken about, yeah, probably a fair move, probably a good move in a business respect. Just left a little bit of a sour taste. That's all.
Yeah.
But I tell you now, the next time they miss one, there's going to be hell to pay. I'm going to want that pound back. Do you know what I mean?
Well, contractually, it's probably stipulated in there that
Yeah, I
all
know.
charges
Yeah.
remain. Anyway,
But on that subject, there's a really good book by a guy called Rory Sutherland. So you've probably seen Rory Sutherland. He's a big guy that always puffing on a vape. Talks a lot about brilliant in the advertising and marketing space. But he, or I remember an example that he talks about in the book, his book Alchemy, which is basically about how do I put it? Thinking in an unusual way in a usual world, or saying that basically the usual way of thinking is not often the way in which people behave and react to. He gave an example basically about Red Bull.
right.
So Red Bull was introduced as a competitor, or in a different market. Don't get me wrong, but as a competitor to say a Coca-Cola, which ultimately tastes great, and is priced accordingly and sold globally to the tune of I don't know what, crazy amounts. However, when they introduced that, they basically took a product which ultimately tastes worse than Coca-Cola
Yeah,
and is priced more expensively than Coca-Cola. And the expectation is that you'd sell less cans than that and they end up selling more.
yeah. I mean, this is
So
where,
not everything is price orientated, and I think that's really really important to stress, is that actually not everyone is all about trying to find trying to find things cheaper.
yeah, it's brand marketing. I mean, when I go into a supermarket, like there is cheaper apple juice, but I'm looking for something that I don't know, just looks a bit cleaner, fresher, bit more health. I don't.
Well,
What I'm
if it
saying is,
didn't if
we're
it didn't
all,
matter if it didn't matter, mate, then everyone would just buy a white parcel of a product, wouldn't they? And there
yeah.
wouldn't be this whole brand thing. There wouldn't we wouldn't be doing what we're doing in terms of decorating people's clothing. It wouldn't be a
So
thing.
yeah, but the point to link it back to price would be, so from a perspective of a business that's thinking, oh, I don't want to put my price up because my price is up because of X or Y. Well, have the confidence of your own brand and marketing, because actually you've built up those relationships with those customers and they understand that it's not easy at the moment out
Mm,
there. Like I mean, minimum wage has just happened. I mean, I'm recording this on the 8th of April. Like we're 8 days into higher labor costs for everyone listening. So it's not just you're gonna have to put your prices up because of one of these reasons. So I would
mm,
why would you delay? Why would you delay putting your prices up? If anything, you should have put them up earlier in January, I think.
yeah,
Like that's my view.
yeah.
Um, we definitely we've not put shipping up for a couple of years. It's something that I'm considering, but I know that we're covering our costs on that, which is the goal. So I'm kind of like it's a balance on that front. But think about your controllables. Think about the price. If you're thinking of pricing a job for an air conditioning unit for Matt Holland, don't be putting in cheap prices because we won't go for it.
Why do you keep harping on at me about price then?
What do you mean?
You keep hammering me for some of your goods, don't you?
I never hammer you on God's hand.
No, you
I
don't.
don't.
You're not too bad. I jest. No, it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
But no, it's hard to strike that balance, isn't it? Of being competitive in competitive marketplaces, particularly in areas which are commoditized, where there's lots of people doing what you're doing. It's that constant battle. But I think you really do need to be confident about the levels of service that you're offering and the product that you're offering. You
yeah,
put so much effort into your service level, so much effort into building relationships, so much effort in getting people the right product that they, for what they're trying to do, whether that be for us, like what paper type they're using, what cartridges are going in their printers, how they're printing, all those sorts of things. We work really,
yeah.
really hard to try and help. Ultimately, there's you've done some great work. You should be reimbursed for it. Do you know what I mean? So,
100%.
it is very, very difficult to get that kind of settled in your head. It really is. There's always
Yeah.
that fear that it goes back the other way, but I think 9 times out of 10 it doesn't.
My view is we all work so hard. Um, and I mean, if everyone's putting the price up, it puts our costs up as well. I kind of the bigger picture stuff is complicated, but my view is you need to protect your margin. So
Mm,
if your costs are going up, you need to pass it on. You need to increase your costs, increase your prices, or find little cute ways like the shipping thresholds for businesses that send goods in the post, whether it's wholesale or direct to consumer. Like you've got to look at those
mm,
those controllables. Um, Or if you're a haulage company and you're paying a lot out on fuel, well, that's a big cost. So you've got to put a surcharge on that. I mean, I think there's definitely a psychological element of like undercharging and how it actually can cost you business. And
Yeah.
that's a point that we've covered off. I mean, are there any business types that you're aware of that are scared of putting prices up for big reasons? Like, can you think of any of because your customers are businesses, so
Well, certainly not trades. The trades aren't scared of it, are they?
I don't think they have a choice. I think
No,
they
but
literally,
they're not worried about that, are they? I mean, you're right. They're probably inundated with work. Don't get me wrong, but when the supply, you know, when the demand outstrips the supply, then ultimately prices go up, don't they?
yeah,
And I think for
definitely.
us that's difficult because there's a lot of demand and there's an increased demand in the areas in which we work on, but also the supply is quite large, which makes it quite a challenge. I was going to ask you, like, what do you in this whole ecosystem of what we're working on and the economics? I fucking still can't say that bloody word. And the economics of it all. You know, you talk about like protected margin. When do you think it becomes a fact that actually what you need to start doing is increasing it? When is protection not enough?
Well, how do you
I don't know.
increase?
That's. Do you know what I
Yes,
mean?
I kind of get it. Well, both things should happen simultaneously, in my opinion. I mean, like, so protection of the margin is important if your margins are to a certain degree outside of your control, like they are in my industry, whereby
Hmm.
the the brands that we purchase product from, they set their cost prices, and then they have the RRPs, and then typically most retailers sell just slightly below the RRP, which leaves you with a 30% gross profit margin. So I don't have much control over that.
Hmm.
What I could do is I could start my own brand, which is
Yeah.
something that we've considered in the past. Um, I think so. For me, the answer is control operating costs, be super efficient, and that's what
Yeah.
we've become really, really good at as a business,
Yeah.
and why we already do the pit pat dispatch for another business, and we're looking at doing it for others now, launching 3PL services, so third party logistics, because we're so operationally slick. There's actually a margin that we can offer to other businesses on that in a way, or a cost saving.
Yeah.
But for businesses that do have control over the gross profit, well, how do you do that? Well, you either drive down the cost of goods sold via better negotiations with your suppliers. So that's something that we can do that.
Yeah. That's
Or
good, mate.
you look at sourcing. So you look at how you're sourcing your product. Is there a cheaper factory? Is there a better factory? Is there a more efficient factory? Or you could go down the Jacob Lockwood route, which is, well, it's not all about going for a cheaper provider.
Yeah.
It's let's market it the right way. Let's tell the story.
That's a
Let's
great
go
example of it,
let
actually.
Yeah, let's go for premium products. It's in the title of the brand, Lockwood Premium Smocks. Like it, that business for me, it's a really good example of why he's kind of laying his story out. He's laying the quality of the product out, and he's saying, well, actually, this is the price you're gonna have to pay. If you want these things, pay it. If you
Mm.
don't want it, go and buy from someone else in the country clothing game, Holland. Do you know what I mean? Like I think
But
I
ultimately, there's different levels. Even in your game, there's differing levels of quality, isn't there? Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? And it's like I think quite often you need to be comparing apples with apples, and I think sometimes people are not doing that.
Yeah, so if someone wants to buy British-made clothing, well, it's gonna cost you. It's gonna cost you. You're gonna be paying a premium for it.
Yeah,
Quality's
we all
gonna be
know why.
decent. So I think that customer that is his potential market, they're already hypersensitive to paying. They're not hypersensitive, the opposite of it. They're open to
Yeah,
paying a premium price for things. That's the reality. Bumblebee just went across the screen. Um, did that answer your question, or did I kind of explain why you
yeah, no,
should?
yeah. It does. It does. I think it's difficult to work out kind of like that relationship between a percentage point and a pound coin, isn't it? At the end of the day, I think sometimes.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I
yeah.
think we talk a lot in percentages, don't we? And ultimately, things are costing more. More of the bottom line is being taken now than it was 18 months ago.
Well, I think
Um,
that's a really important educational point for businesses that are listening, actually, because if you don't understand the percentage cost base of your business, well, it's time to go back to school because you need to understand that.
mm,
Because if you look, not everything is round £100 notes. Do you know what I mean? So,
no,
like, you need to have. So if you're not in a financial position where you can afford to have management accounts, what you need to be doing is tracking cost furiously against your turnover. So
Mm,
we all know what our gross or net turnover is of VAT. So you take that number and then we work out your labour cost. You add it up and you go, right, this is my labour cost percentage, and then you go, right, I'm going to monitor the hell out of that and make sure I
mm.
don't spend too much on labour this month when we're only outputting this, or whatever you identify your controllable costs as being.
Well, that's
Um,
something me and you have spoken about, and that's something that we do track tight now.
good, good,
Probably needs to be tighter, but it's
yeah.
something that we do track and look at and consider weekly.
Yeah, and this is the opposite side of so this episode is quite good actually because we talked about price, but we've actually ended up talking about cost control,
Mm.
which is it's as important, if not more important.
Yeah,
But
I think
but
the
what you want,
relationship between the two is very important, right?
but what you don't, yeah, but what you don't want to be is a lazy business owner that just puts prices up but isn't willing to be efficient. And I think
Mm.
they should both be happening simultaneously.
Agreed.
And it's
Because
something
at the end of the day, you're trying to get a good deal for your customers, right? As well.
yeah,
That's what you're there for. Do you know what I mean? Like you're there. You're meant to be competitive in a competitive marketplace, and you should be understanding all of these things.
exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I think like you're talking about like labor cost and stuff. It's something that we've tracked. We were tracking it all the way up until December, and then we seen a rise. Then we saw it come down ever so slightly, but not come down enough. And last month was more successful for us because we managed to increase on our sales, but also still control the amount we're spending. It's something we've spoken about a lot in our business because it's really easy to get comfortable with the amount of labor that you've got and be like, oh, do you know what? Yeah, that's all right. You know, or without kind of looking at what you've achieved during the day. It's like, oh yeah, do you want things are all right at the moment? Do you want to come in for another day and do a bit more on Friday? Well, in a world where kind of a minimum wage role is over, costing you over £100 plus your costs now, it's like you do that a couple of times a week, and all of a sudden you're going to start to see that margin erosion. It's not going to take very long for it to start becoming an issue, and I think it's something that those I know we've been talking about price and pricing to our customers, but Jesus Christ, that one can really get away from you if you let it go. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't
Yeah.
take a lot to let it go. It just takes a couple of lazy days where it's like, yeah, that makes our life easier. Let's just yeah, we'll have another day or we'll have another person here. Do you know what I mean?
That's the problem is it's got to be drilled in like culturally into the
Mm.
business about being efficient with your cash and efficient with your expenditure, because if it's not, and you very and there's been periods in my business career where I've overspent on things and
Oh
got it
yeah.
wrong, but that's how you become a skilled sailor. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that, you don't become a skilled sailor like navigating calm seas. So
We always joke actually because there's always like kind of the in and around the area. There's always like the old school business owners that have been doing it for 30, 40 years, which we still go into. And you go in there and like the desks are battered, and there's paperwork all over the place, and there's old filing cabinets and whatnot. And we're sat there. We got our nice sit stand desk, which we decked out the office with. We spent a bit of cash on. And you think, do you know what? That's probably the reason that guy's doing a lot better or had the longevity that he's had, and probably making more money than we are because he's less frivolous with the cash he's got available to spend.
well, he's probably navigated a few storms, I suspect.
Exactly.
But then the key thing is it's a balance. So you then can end up, if you've navigated a pretty rough storm and you've had to be very like scrupulous with protecting the cash,
Mm,
well, you then need to also understand that it's the perception of your business, and it's also you can't be skinflint and be tight on the things
no.
that matter, because actually then that can create a lack of efficiency.
Yeah.
So it's a balance, like of anything. You don't wanna be too tight on your labour costs, because then your staff are unhappy, and you
100%.
so it's like it technically it's impossible to be 100% efficient, and also it's impossible to find the balance for a long period of time. Like it requires a lot of micromanagement kind of tilting it, and
Mm,
I'm very pro micromanagement actually. I think if you're in charge of a system or a group of people, to be able to hold them to account on something like labour costs, you need to understand their job roles, and you need to
mm,
understand what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and you need to monitor and understand the efficiency. Like, so say operations of um, the order processing of getting an order, placing an order with Workwear Innovation to then it being dispatched by Workwear Innovation. Like everyone in the business should understand that process, but
mm,
especially the leadership, because they need to be able to go, well, wait a minute, you're missing this step out, or you're not doing your quality control, which might save us money in the short term, save us time in the short term, which is money. But then actually look at the percentage of issues we're having. Like
Oh yeah.
we don't get issues at Work Innovation, but
Well,
if
no,
it were,
but funny enough, it's something me and you spoke about, wasn't it? It's something we started controlling and we started
yeah.
reviewing at the end of last year, and it's something we look at every single week.
But my point is, it's about understanding that, right, okay, well, that short-term cost saving might be, but you can only do that for so long before it starts
Mm,
impacting cost
yeah.
elsewhere or revenue generation. So it's like,
Hmm.
this is why I love talking about business, because it's just so
It's a
interesting.
fucking minefield.
Yeah, well, a minefield, or is it like a really interesting maze or something to
Puzzle.
decode?
It's a
It's
nice
a
little
puzzle.
puzzle.
It's a
Yeah, it
puzzle,
is a
isn't it?
puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely
So
is.
I think that's a good episode. We're going to close it off there, but we're going to
No
drift.
Claude question of the week this week.
We have got a Claude question of the week, so thank you for reminding me on that. But before we get started, Charlie sent me just before we link onto that, Charlie sent me a really good message on WhatsApp, and we're going to set up a community for the podcast, but it's going to come probably after we've done the rebrand, because we are going to rebrand the name of the podcast slightly. I think it's probably still going to be something British and business British, I'm not sure, or something along those lines, something, because I think we need to stay within that niche. But me and Charlie, there's an ongoing discussion, not negotiation discussion. Uh,
It's
um,
all healthy discussion.
yeah,
We
it
just
is. Yeah,
basically don't know what to call it.
we don't know what to call it. Yeah.
That's the long and short of it, really.
I mean, but
There's no equity debates. There's
yeah,
none of that.
there's nothing to have equity in, mate.
No,
Let's be honest.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. There's no point
So
worrying about that.
I was going to just read out a couple of the potential titles.
Oh
What
yeah,
What do you
okay.
reckon? Should we tease a couple?
Yeah, go on then.
So I quite like this one. No fluff. I don't like that one.
Well, we talk a lot of fucking fluff.
I do. Yeah, a lot of fluff. I do like this one, In the Weeds,
yeah, I like that. I like that too. That was a nice one.
because
In the
it's
weeds,
if
because we
because
are
it
in the weeds, aren't we? We're always in the weeds.
yeah
The length of the weeds and the depth of the water that you're in trying to get through the weeds. It's like that's a reed,
and
but
another
weeds. It does vary, but you're always in them.
yeah. So In the Weeds, I thought was pretty good. Another one I liked was Sharp End.
Mm,
I really like that one. So
mm,
In the Weeds was In the Weeds, where real business happens, and Sharp End was Sharp End, business from the people doing it,
mm.
which I thought was quite good as well. Because sometimes I think with these business podcasts, people can get a bit too much removed from the actual reality, or some of the BBC business podcasts, they're like, the hosts aren't in business, so they don't really get it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, and then I think you liked Hard Round. No, didn't like Hard Round.
I
Was
liked
it?
in the weed. I liked in the
Was
weeds.
it
I
In the
think.
Weeds? So
Yeah, it was in the,
I think it's between In the Weeds and Sharp End.
or it was business in Britain.
Business in Britain, yeah.
Mm,
And I'd be willing. I think I'd be up for dropping. I think if it's got business in the title, I want Britain in there,
yeah.
or British. That was
All these exciting things we've got to consider for our
So
podcast
I'm
that
gonna
four people
I'm
listen to. I might have
I'm
5 now.
I'm gonna put a deadline on it.
All right,
That's what I think we need to do.
fine.
I think we should both put a survey out on our socials. You
With
know,
our
with
favourite names.
yeah, just say we're thinking of
Mm,
changing our podcast name, or which do you think makes the better? Keep it neutral. Which do you
mm,
think makes it the better title for a podcast? And then those three, and
yeah,
that'd be a good shout.
fine.
But the goal is, I think, by the time the episode comes out of this, to have done the rebrand.
Okay. I like
Um,
that. I like that. Yeah, okay.
I like In the Weeds, because it could be quite. Yeah, I quite like that one.
Yeah, okay. You're leaning on that one, aren't you?
I think that one's my favourite, having had the little chat with you.
But yeah, what we've obviously talked about, like, trying to do a bit of running, trying to get people involved. We're thinking of whether or not we should start thinking about setting up like a little Discord community, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think we should have a
Other
Discord
people that are
community.
feeling the pain,
Yeah,
got challenges, got wins, share it with each other,
yeah,
and see
just
if
where
we can get something going.
people can ask questions,
Hmm.
and kind of chuck their ideas and thoughts around, and then we might have like a little spin-off, because in Discord's pretty good because you can have little separate chats where people can
little
talk about
channels.
individual topics. So there'll be like me, you, your mum,
Jacob
Amy.
will be in. Jacob will join us.
Jake will be in there. Yeah, Jacob.
He'll be in there.
He's like proper loyal.
So there'll be at least 3 of us.
Yeah, who's winning the running competition at the moment?
Well, I don't know. He tried yesterday, didn't he? But he told us. He did send us a video of him going. But then he said his Strava kind of cut out on him, which is very convenient.
I think it might have been.
It could be me at the moment. It could be me at the moment winning. You know, with a 5.07 kilometer run.
I've been out quite a bit, mate.
Oh shit!
More than your one treadmill run or whatever.
Okay, maybe I should check it out.
Yeah.
Danny, I spoke to Danny last night.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. Well, we've been discussing some business stuff during the day for an upcoming event that you guys have got coming up, and
yeah.
I was just saying that I was finding it difficult to get out, and it was I was juggling the kids at the time. They weren't playing ball, etc. And I said I couldn't be asked, and then I went and got on the treadmill and done 5K. And I texted him and say, "Look, mate, I'm sorry, I've just done you dirty because I've just done 5K on the treadmill." And I got a reply this morning to say that treadmills don't count.
That stinks as an individual that doesn't run on a treadmill, basically. I mean, Danny's got a good excuse for finishing last, to be honest with you, which is like he's a very old man. Let's be honest. Because what is he? He's like 50 or something, 45, 50.
Leave him alone.
He's old, really old.
Leave him alone.
Bless him. That's me in some kind of tribe. You'll put the cuffs on me. I want a holiday. That's it. Right. Well, we've not done British business. Shall we do British business facts of the week? Yeah,
you've done facts of the week. You want to do Claude's question of the week?
Claude's question of the week. If your best client found out tomorrow what your worst client pays, would you be embarrassed by the gap?
No.
Because it's justifiable.
If my best client...
So your best customer found out tomorrow what your worst customer pays. So, like, my understanding of that is like your best...
No, I haven't got any worst customers, by the way. I just want to throw that one out there. All mine are fantastic and I love them all to bits.
You'll have some difficult ones. What's that? William Swindles Limited. They're a friggin' nightmare.
Yeah, they're a nightmare. No, they're good as gold.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think because I think that I have... Do you know how... I try and hold myself to account to that so that, if ever it was a discussion point, it would be justifiable.
Well, I think it's very easily justifiable because if you've got...
that's what I mean. So if you've got
if you've got a really good client that pays you on time and spends quite a lot of money with you, well, they should get better pricing.
100%, yeah, I agree.
And if that client that doesn't pay on time finds out that client A is getting better pricing, well, I think businesses should have the confidence to say, hold on a minute, Fred. When was the last time you paid a fucking invoice on time, mate? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, exactly.
We've definitely become a less, what's the word? Forgiving on that front, I think.
Good. Don't tolerate it. It's
no, basically... you can't afford to. No one can afford to do it.
Yeah.
Cash is king. Cash is tight. Like you just can't afford to do it.
I think in B2B businesses, it should be new customers pay on an immediate. You don't give terms.
No, basically. I agree.
Even if you're an established business, no, it's pro forma.
I agree.
Anyway, let's leave it there. I'll see you on the next one. Where are you? When's your holiday coming up? When are you going on holiday?
I'm going away for the weekend, little holiday park with the kids and the rest of my side of the family at the weekend, which will be good fun. It'll be absolutely carnage, but it'll be good fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Apart from that, I'm all about the work. I'm all about the work, Matthew.
Yeah.
I'm all about the work.
Mate, my brain never switches off. So
yeah, I know that. I know that very much.
I'm working.
Enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and get in the pool with the kids.
Nice one. I'll chat to you soon.
See you in a bit, mate.
Ciao, everyone.
Thanks for listening. Bye.